Gamification for online communities sometimes gets a bad rap, but I've been doing gamification for organizations for years, and my guest today is an expert in this topic. Join me as we greet David Fergen on today's episode of Talk About Your Community. Kalisa, roll the opening. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you happen to be tuning in from. You have joined me on Talk About Your Community by Clocktower Advisors. I'm Todd Nilson, your host. So glad you're here. Thank you for joining me. We do Talk About Your Community about every other week, try to stay on a pretty regular schedule about it. And we greet a variety of different kinds of guests who have perspectives or expertise around community building. So if this is your first time joining the live stream, welcome. I'm trying a little bit of a new layout here today. You'll have to let me know what you think. This is sort of theater in the round, I guess. And I am so glad that you were able to join us for this conversation today with David Fergen. It's one of my favorite topics, the idea of gamification of communities or game thinking for communities. I'll sometimes phrase it that way with clients to take some of the stigma out of it. I'll be eager to get some of David's thoughts about this. But the entire idea of trying to deepen engagement by using game-like tools like points, badges, leaderboards, missions, quests, contests. I think that there's tremendous potential for this, but it's often implemented in sort of a haphazard or ad hoc, kind of fashion. And so I'm eager to get some of David's thoughts about ways to plan and execute and keep fresh those kinds of programs for gamified community spaces. In the meantime, just wanted to let you know we've got a full schedule lined up for November. We're soon going to be posting them up in the Clocktower Advisors company page here on LinkedIn and up on YouTube. My next guest coming up in 2 weeks on November 1st is going to be my old friend, Brad Rook from Igloo Software. And as you know, he does a lot of work in digital workplaces, digital spaces, remote and hybrid work, being, big topics. He's going to be coming back and we're going to be talking about the future of the digital workplace and some of the best practices, leading practices around that. So if you are an executive leader who is thinking about revamping your company intranet, your social intranet, you want to start incorporating some best practices, you want to be a little more forward-looking, you're not going to want to miss that session. The next session coming up after that is as a guest, Mug Ovali. It's going to be a new guest on the show. And I'm really looking forward to that conversation as well. So look for more details on that soon. We'll be posting it up again on the Clocktower Advisors company page, as well as on YouTube and your favorite online channels. So without any further ado, I want to welcome aboard to the show David Fergen. David, welcome. So great of you to be able to join me. I know we've been colleagues for a while now, but when you were talking a little bit about the work that you've done in gaming communities and specifically some of the gamification work you've done, I knew you'd be an amazing guest to have on the show. So welcome. Great to see you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Todd. And hello, everyone. Gamification is a passion of mine. I love it to death. So being able to chat about it in this setting like this is fantastic. And happy to spread some more insight into what I've done, gamification, and like how it can improve people. And because a lot of people ask me, like, I don't know what gamification is. How will have an impact on my community? So it's always good to kind of deep dive and kind of give insight into it.
And David, you've worked on some really amazing game titles out there. Do you want to mention your resume a little bit about some of what you've done, and so the folks can get a sense of the kinds of titles you've worked for?
Yeah, of course. So I started very early into gaming. I worked as a QA tester at Epic, and then I went over to worked on Fortnite for a while there. Then I went over to work at Insomniac, where I worked on the first VR esports game, which was Unspoken. It was kind of majorly huge. It's a magic game. Think of Harry Potter almost throwing fireballs at each other. It was quite fun. Then I went over to work at Booming Games, which was helping a Chinese company get off the ground and get the Conqueror's Blade, which I'm sure some of you have played on Steam. Then after that, I went to help Ubisoft a little bit in their support division, working on Division 2, and went back to community management for Booming for a little while. Then I went over to business at Qlik and created a gamification program called Qlik Legends, taking all my expertise in the game industry into making fun and engaging programs for clients. And it was wildly successful, increased participation by 55%. And also, we had productivity on like forums and such by 1,500% with the fun gamification program.
I definitely want to get into conversation about Qlik and the work that you did with those guys. That's amazing. I'll just say a quick shout out, quick comment on the board from Shannon Steffen. Shannon, thanks for joining us today. Man, it's been a minute since we last chatted. We should catch up sometime. David, cheers to you for all the work you've done to bring gaming to the world. I'll give you the Woodstock cheer and
I'll get the
Cookie
Cookie
Monster
Monster
there.
cheer.
That's awesome, man. Appreciate you. So let's talk a little bit about just taking a step back, a little bit about the how you think about definitions of gamification, maybe how you've talked about it to people in organizations where you're going to try to implement it as part of the community. How do you usually introduce the idea, and what kinds of resistance or questions, if any, have you gotten from it?
Thank you, Heather, for that mug. It's one of my favorite. But also, people a lot of times say gamification, oh, you're just pretty much manipulating people. That's what I see a lot of communities do. And a lot of people are saying, have kind of almost like find that gamification is like not really valuable because people don't really interact well. It kind of can have a negative meaning in some communities as well. But I find when gamification is correctly implemented, where you make it fun, brand building, you make it so people are recognized, you make it so it is a way to build up their foundation, even if it's by badges, leaderboards, or in a way that everyone feels like they are appreciated for the work they're doing in your community. You find that there's a lot more enthusiasm. You find that there's a lot more building of, I almost say you're almost building a bridge in the community, and you're getting those people spotlighted who are not maybe able as spotlighted, speaking like women, because speaking like people who maybe African Americans, Latinos, all of those minorities
Any kind of
get to have
marginalization. Yeah.
any marginal, because
Mhm.
the points speak. If you see that there are doing amazing in your community and like really leveling up and stuff, you are able to spotlight that in a manner where people can have a voice that normally don't have a voice, or are afraid to speak up, or not as appreciated, because you can say like, look, it says like this person who as a part of my program had a way that they were able to increase their points enough that they achieved the highest ranking consecutively, and you can see like the great value that they brought to the community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When I've talked to organizations about to introduce gamification, like there have been some orgs that I've talked to where they were very hesitant to do it because they felt like we were turning their their serious topic into a game, and they didn't want to go there. And so I know, like I think this is something that you're probably aware of too, but like the culture and the values of that organization need to match up with the gamification plan. And I feel like when it goes wrong because of an insensitivity maybe to what people in the community want or value. Like the dismissive comment that I'll usually hear about gamification is, I don't need to get a badge for liking something,
Mm-hmm.
but how do we make gamification really resonate with the members of a community? What kind of things can we do?
One thing that is the biggest, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is one thing that I've noticed in a lot of communities, is you sign in, you get a badge. That's not good gamification, in my opinion, because it doesn't feel any achievement. Badges should be given when you actually achieve something are tangible and should be appreciated. I feel you should always, whenever you give a badge, you have a personal message saying, congratulations, you have done 50 posts, but your 50 posts have reached these people. Give them a reason
I
that they
love
are a part of
that.
your community.
That's
Give
great.
them a way to like say that why they are in the story they're told, because community is about a story. Every community should have a story. I view community as like a village almost, and you should, in every part of your community, are people are the villagers, and you should always make sure that they all feel appreciated and they aren't just a number. They aren't just a metric on your KPI. They all have a personal story, and make it fun and appealing for them. And that's where gamification really can get successful, is having that kind of amazingly fun, inspiring, and rewarding, and something that actually is tangible for them to take to the next level, to the next ranking, to anything. It's always how to build their brand.
I love that so much, and I love the way that you opened that. Community is a story. That's so incredibly powerful, and it resonated for me. Like there's it's actually a tabletop game that I picked up recently. It's an educational game. I think it's called Borders Riding, something
Hmm.
like that. It's a UK based company. Stoat Press, I think, is the name of it. But it's literally a game where you start out with a blank map and you draw a landscape item on the map and you talk about like why you live in this place, and then it like takes you through a course of years to sort of like it's almost sort of like nation building, community building, talking about like, well, why we live in this place and why the people who live over across the river from us, why we're not getting along with them, or things that they did to us. And there's like some random dice rolls through the game to kind of do that. But what I love so much about it, it's an evolving story. And that's what a community is. And I love the connection between using gamification as part of that storytelling. That's so incredibly powerful.
And not just part of storytelling, you can have it part of, especially if you're working in your communities, and like there are a lot of people who, let's just give an example. Let's say developer relations for it. Let's dig into that. Like, let's say you have developers going into your community. You can get those developer spotlights. Say they earn points on your gamification and like rel level up in ranking. You can feature them. There's no reason not to share with their leaders what they have done and to help them get promoted, to help them get advanced, or even if they're like writing articles, sharing knowledge, or just doing various ways to improve the community. Because that is one thing that I think a lot of, and I'm sure there may be even some leaders here, is you always don't have the full picture of like what your employees may be doing, but having tangible results from seeing gamification, like having that number, seeing the how many points they can gain, is a way to show the value of your employee, or show to like how they can be promoted, or like what they're actually doing to help grow your value.
I love that. I love that. I'm going to pause here and just say, for any of you that are out there in the live stream watching, I would love to know your questions or comments about gamification. Have you tried to implement it in your online community? And if so, what were your results? What were the pitfalls? What did you kind of run into, as you ran your program over time? Or even if you're watching this in the replay, would love to hear from you and your experiences. Please tell us down in the comments, and we'll reply in the doobly doo about how all of that has maybe worked from our experiences, and I think we could get some really great conversation going around this. Dave, gamification is one of those topics that can be very divisive, for people. As you've implemented gamification, for organizations. I love one of the things that you said about personalizing those achievements. I'll note that some of those negative perceptions of gamification, like I got a badge because I liked a piece of content there. Those are out of the box settings for a lot of the community platforms that are out there. How do you approach that with organizations who just want to kind of get the gamification going right away, and they're not really too particular? They just turn it on and let's see what happens with it. What would you counsel them about that?
Hearing that, and that's a great question as well. I just want to comment on that, Heather. Like, yes, there is a lot of ideas for gamification challenges. It can be very
Mhm.
challenging to get it rolling. And I would love to talk in depth. I'll just finish up Todd, and then I'll be happy to deep
Yeah,
dive
yeah,
into that one.
absolutely.
But yeah, so Todd, about that, I've noticed is that is kind of the worst way to go about gamification because
I agree.
you're turning it on, you're not really thinking. Every community is different. There is no one size gamification that fits all because you have to, whenever incorporating gamification, you have to go think about what the culture is. What do your users really appreciate? What would they really want as part of what are your goals? What is your values? What are the things that the community members kind of have as a target that just kind of resonates with them, and you build challenges. I'll even incorporate some of others into this is you build challenges around what can inspire your community members. So let's just give an example. I'll go off of a technical community and say you have people that write articles, for example, or you have people that write documentation, and you can have it so like each challenge per week is do so much documentation or do so much challenges or articles or various different ways to integrate, to kind of grow and integrate your knowledge base or community forums, or just making sure that comments or making solutions. There are various ways to do it in fun and engaging manners, and spice it up a little bit, make it fun. I always say when designing anything gamification, there are four things which are fun, fair, inspiring, and rewarding. Make sure that those are kind of like the core pillars of gamification, because no one wants to play or be in anything that isn't fun or fair. And you always want to also build up people's brands. So make sure that they take away something. Does that answer your question, Heather, or do you need some more examples?
Well, we'll give her a second to get back to us because the
Yeah.
stream generally runs a few seconds behind depending on the net connection speed. But I love that, David. That's wonderful, and it makes me think of like a couple of uh, things that sort of bothered me about out of the box gamification for some of the platforms, as well. Not to bag on them over much, but like some greater flexibility around making the gamification meaningful. When you have like all these out of the box badges, for your gamification scheme, um, it can get to look like when I look at somebody's profile, they've got like a gazillion badges. They don't actually mean anything. And so
Mhm.
it looks like you look like some kind of banana republic dictator with like, dozens of awards, sitting on there that don't really amount to much of anything. And so sort of the meaningfulness of the gamification then kind of goes away. I'd love it also to be, that with these platforms that by default I should be able to feature the badges that I feel best about. That I can look at my profile and I can control if I've got 10, 15 badges that I want to be able to feature the one or two that I think say the most about me as a person as well.
Of course. Yeah, I agree. I kind of sometimes when I see like as you mentioned, looking on the forums and seeing like all those badges all like in a row, I feel like have you ever seen that picture of a meme where they show all these military generals walking and they have like all these badges like on their uniform? It's just like tons of badges and they're all just walking,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah, that just it doesn't really seem to mean. So I always feel that simplicity, exactly. New badges don't make any sense. I agree. The way I find it is what's better than badges is having levels. I
Mhm.
always find that having it so that you can level up, but you can even make it so that you can have like even around your form, you can have a different like avatar or kind of like banner that
Yeah.
that shows like what level and ranking you are, and just make it even games have taught us a lot. Like there are various different ways to do this. Is like you can even have it so like there are different like seasons. There are various different ways to innovate. You have leaderboards. You can have honorable mentions. You can have quest challenges. I don't know how many gamers are in here, but I'm sure if you played any of the games, you always get a sense of achievement whenever you're like you have leveled up, you've gained this ranking, or you have achieved this. It's and make sure that each time you level up, you at least your community members get inspired for leveling up. Like they get a message that's personalized and not just that generic congratulations on leveling up. Like that's the biggest thing is, and you can also do like weekly newsletters, getting them featured and such. It's like there are so many ways to kind of inspire and make people. And games have taught us a lot. Like if you playing games, like they have. Look at Fortnite, for example. You have Fortnite battle passes. You have like there's just which
Mhm.
go into like different seasons. You go into various different genres. It's having that kind of motivation to get people to like move to the next level, but also taking something away from it. And there's no reason saying that we can't have badges in a way that actually means something. Why not have badges that you can put on your LinkedIn profile? That
Yes, the
actually means
portability
something.
of badges, absolutely,
Like
or unique NFT generated badges or something like that would be kind of
it's
interesting.
just there's so many ways to do it because I rather know that like you get a badge in something where you are actually knowledgeable in the product that a community is managing, and then you can have that badge put onto your LinkedIn profile, and people actually know, oh, they achieved this ranking and this. They're actually good at it, and you can take that tangible
I
instead of
love
just a badge that's saying like congratulations for signing in. That's how I feel.
Yeah, yeah, and so like I mean, so many other game elements that could be incorporated in community gamification that'd be interesting. I know Amy Jo Kim, some years ago, I talked about sort of the idea of having like what instead of like individual achievement with badges, what if there were like community goals for
Hmm.
gamification that like when you hit a certain level that the community then is going to make a donation to a wonderful charity or have some kind of real world result that's tangible, for something like that.
So I always find that there is a lot of gameplay mechanics that can't be harnessed, but it's in a way like I used to have one of the features I enjoyed was I made a boss fight mechanic where we had a goal for the entire community to beat this boss as we made
Oh
it.
yeah, yeah, I love
Yeah,
it.
and so it was everyone pooled together, their knowledge achieved the goals, worked in the community, and when they beat the boss, everyone got part of the pool or rewards or loot drop as I called it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, group
that was fun.
goals. Yeah, I love it. So, I mean, the equivalent of like mobbing up, to go on a
Correct.
raid or something like that. That would be amazing. And another one that I think about too are like civilization style games where you have like technology ladders that you can go on, or like that that you can develop deeper specializations in different ways. And if the gamification could actually reflect that in your development. I always thought that would be kind of an interesting thing to implement too, but I've never seen those kinds of, what would you call them, technology trees or something like that.
Well, there is yeah, I'm a huge Civilization fan as well, so
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I used to get stuck in the one more turn each time, but that is something interesting and I think could be incorporated. Like there is ways like you have enough people research like or achieve different achievements in a community, like and then you can unlock something which you could even have it so you can have a section of community where it's blocked off. But
Mhm.
when a goal is achieved, they have advanced to tech age, and then you unlock a next part of the community, and that may be something new. So people are working together to achieve a community goal to unlock parts of the community. There you go. You're teching up. You're advancing technology so you have more parts of the community. Like let's say they achieve ranking 2. Oh, cool! Your chatbot has been unlocked.
Right. Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to just acknowledge a couple of comments that came through here. Heather was saying, "Can you give any specific examples of gamifying other than badges?" I think we've been talking a little bit about that, but I don't know if there's any others that come to mind for you, David. Uh,
Um, Examples of gamifying other than badges. Well, as I said, like leaderboards are always
oh, sure.
used and gaining levels. that is also used a lot. There's also like quest challenges, various different manners that you can make people achieve your goals. And there is, you can even have it like, as I mentioned, like there's could be a boss raid mechanic or something like that. There's just various different ways you can make things exciting for people and gamify. Is
Mhm.
there anything else?
Yeah, yeah. Namely, that Chitra mentioned that I think maybe she meant new badges. Don't make
Mhm.
sense if they're not adding value to community users. Badges are
Yeah.
such a common part of like the gamification experience with many platforms, and I played back with Bunch Ball back in the day, and did a lot with it. And as you
I-
said, like I love the idea of having leveling and having quests that individuals, and even like secret
s-
quests where you maybe achieved something and you didn't realize that you achieved, but especially when you get an acknowledgement for it when it comes through.
s- So I actually worked with some companies that had issues with badges because people weren't appreciating badges.
Yeah.
So this was actually during one of my talks I had in previously because someone asked the same question: is badges don't have value. How can I improve my badge system? It's not making people interested. And after much deliberation, the idea was to make it more interesting is to have those badges not just be static, but level up as you do more things. And as you do more things, have those badges change into something. So you're not getting new badges or like they're not spamming, but though your existing badges level up, get better, get kind of into new realms.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
always achieving greater moving forward because you always want that sense of achievement when you're in a community. You never want anything to be static. You never want to have the status quo. You always want to show that you are making progress, that you're doing more things. And I think that that is a good way. And having those badges when you achieve, like maybe the end goal, unlocking special stuff in the community
Mhm.
for like having special emojis or special getting some swag or something of that nature. There's swag can be used in a great one, just even that appreciation for achieving good things.
And I know Discord as a platform seems to be particularly suited to things like that, like
Yeah.
releasing new emoji sets or unlocking different areas of the community. Um, yeah.
Yeah, gamers normally use Discord, and if you've done Discord, you can definitely level up using some bots and such, which can track levels and unlock various different things.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so Chitra just commented that sounds like a great idea. Glad we could inspire a little bit and help with that. Um, so, David, I wanted to go back to something you mentioned earlier in our conversation, that when you kind of stepped out of gaming briefly and you worked for Qlik, that you were able to put together a gamification program for them. Could you just briefly, for people that maybe aren't familiar with Qlik,
Mhm.
talk about what they are as a company and
Of
then
course.
what you did to help them put together an award-winning gamification program?
Of course, yeah. Qlik was an incredible data integration company. They have ClickSense, Replicate, various other software. And what is awesome was that they would move data from one place to another. Really enjoyed working with them. It was great experience, and I was able to help get their developers motivated on the community through gamification to like help because they're more support based. So it's like answering questions and stuff. So getting
Hmm.
to make sure that their customers and clients' questions were answered by like designing amazing gamification to reward them.
Could you maybe, do you have a specific example in mind that you could offer from that?
Some of them was just mainly like answering, getting accepted solutions on the forum. So it's like when they answer a question, it's accepted. The developers get appreciated, like they gain points and get appreciated and such.
Nice, nice. So was that based upon other people then basically saying this is a great answer, like upvoting the
Yeah,
answer?
like this
Yeah,
has solved my problem, and that's what it builds community interaction because people saying like, yeah, that's a great
that's
solution is
wonderful.
a way to run and like make sure that everything is because that's the thing is like you're trying to help people. That's what it is in a community. You're trying to help people, you're trying to share knowledge, you're trying to grow, and making a program that can help promote that will make your community more alive, interactive in various different manners.
I really love that. Would you mind sharing, like, what platform was that built upon?
We had our own internal
Oh,
platform of it, and we also used various other platforms as
so that was
well
a
from
kind
like
of a
third party.
bespoke model that you had there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Got it.
We use our own territory software to work on it as well for like making apps and stuff.
How did you track the metrics for that work? Was that something that was in your community dashboard? Did you have a separate dashboard for that? How was that built?
I made an Excel sheet.
You know what? That's great for people to hear though, because like I think so many times we're sort of like, well, does the platform provide that for me? I feel like almost 80 or 90% of the time when I'm working with a customer, I'm building my own dashboards out of Excel. Or if I've got something fancier like Tableau, I'm not really very conversant with it, but I would use a dashboard, tool like that if I had it and felt comfortable using it.
Yeah, it's just Excel is incredible. Use it often, and you can design some amazing things with Excel.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what I've been discovering lately is you can then take an Excel sheet or a Google sheet, feed it to ChatGPT, and turn it into a web-based app
Mm,
that you can play with, which is also,
exactly.
yeah,
And yeah, that's what it does. Excel excels at making gamification points and adding them up and multiplying and all that stuff. So I love it.
exactly. Just a quick comment from Catherine and a shout out to Catherine. Hey, Catherine, great to see you. Yes, don't stack tons of ribbons. Yeah, I love it.
Exactly, right? That's the whole thing. Is it's like don't have a huge stack. Just make sure like it gets advanced. So that's what I was meaning. Like you advance it, so it's like you have level 1, and then it changes to level 2, then it changes to level 3, then it changes to like max level, and it'll tell you like you are maxed out in this. Congratulations, you get a
Yeah,
pin. It's like
because
that's just example.
because I think of this the like of the user experience professionals that I've worked with over the years when they talk about things like how many items should I have in my top navigation? Like they'll usually say like cognitively, so as not to overwhelm people, you don't want more than like 5 to 7 items showing up there. So what if I just had 7 badge slots at any one time for
Mhm.
my achievements in the community? And I'm basically leveling up in 7 categories. When I earn the new badge, the old badge disappears, and the new one takes its place in the slot. I mean that takes some conscious planning, but I really like that as an
Yeah.
approach.
And also, you can have a gallery as well off to the side as a tab and just have it so all your badges are listed. So like people know that like if they do want to see the progress they made, so it's not lost to the sands of time, but they can see like, hey, I started out here and look where I advanced. Kind of almost like I call it almost like a roadmap of their progress, kind of making it so you have it so you can see your foundation from zero to hero.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful. I'll just make a quick note here. Michael said, fancy trick using ChatGPT to turn spreadsheets into an app. Yes, Michael, and I am a total Luddite when it comes to doing any kind of coding work. So for me to get in there and just have conversations with it, and it took me from taking the spreadsheet, and it was basically a calculator for one of my clients' communities, and turning it into an app, and it took me. I think I've gone through like 10 or 11 versions of that now, just making various improvements, but then it even gave me the instructions for putting it up on GitHub and making it a publicly available piece. So yeah, I encourage you to give it a try. It's a lot of fun, and I think it can enrich communities too. You could because you can embed that within a community experience and make it useful as well. You can make that part of your gamification even. So, anyways. um, David, just to kind of switch gears a little bit, when building a community gamification program, do you build that out in Excel as well, like the lists of the badges and the missions and the achievements and the levels? Like, is there like a template that you work from, or like what's your approach?
So I normally start it in I design it in Excel, of course. That's where I normally start out. But then I like it's always good to make it in like a PowerPoint. Have a
Mm,
PowerPoint of like whenever you're doing especially making a PowerPoint of like, here's how it is, explaining like where your levels are, where everything is. You can then go to easily to executive leadership in any company you're at and just say, hey, here's my idea, here's my plan. Make it short, brief, to the point, because as we know, they don't have much time, and it's great to just kind of get them rolling along, like into, yeah, let's get it going. Because anytime you do gamification, I think the biggest issue most people have, and I think you can agree with, is executive buy-in, leadership
Oh,
buy-in.
totally. Yes.
It's
Yes.
it's sometimes like pulling teeth. So you have to it's always good to have data back to support. It's always good to have a good PowerPoint to just kind of show them and be like, hey, leadership, here's this is why we do this, here's what value we'll bring, let's get rolling, and here's a timeline and roadmap.
And I think helping executives to wrap their mind around the idea of gamification. Gamification can sometimes conjure some negative or allergic reactions from executives who don't understand. Like, it's not fun and game. It's on the continuum of engagement strategies. It's a more deliberate and higher result engagement strategy than a lot of other things. It's reasons why you have game elements in serious platforms like LinkedIn, even, where it gamifies your profile completion, with like a completion bar there. And so I think, like, being able to sell that to executive leaders, absolutely, such a huge thing to do.
Exactly. Does anyone have any other questions or help, or kind of like wanting to know what is gamification? Because I know I saw a poll recently that was kind of surprised about. Was I saw that people were saying, someone posted a poll saying, do you ever use gamification in your community? And their response was, 89% said, I don't even know what gamification is.
Yeah, right.
And that surprised me, because it's such an important part of engaging your community. I feel like a lot of communities not having gamification, not even knowing what it is, can really hurt retention in many ways.
It's like tying one arm behind your back if you haven't used it. But it's just, I think, as long as you are being sensitive to the culture of the community, the story of the community, if you will, that you're introducing it to, and you're implementing it in an empathetic way, it can be really successful. It can be wildly successful in building it up. Catherine had a question about executive buy-in. For this, what are the best strategies to explain it to members of the community so that not executive buy-in, but member buy-in, so that they care to level up for non-gamer communities? That's a great question. I have an opinion on that, David, but I want to hear from you first. So.
That is a brilliant question. And actually, one of the major communities I worked with, they were not gamer communities, they were business, and that's what I specialize in. And the best way to do it is to make it in such a fun and interesting way that doesn't seem like a game. You make it into where it is something that you need to achieve, but you can do it in like a normal newsletter. You can do it in a webcast, or you can even just do it and explain, like, here's the process, but like, not call it games, like not call it, and just kind of go with, here is this program we are doing. This is to engage and excite this, and to expand and build your brand. You can go into full kind of like brand building, and like, here's how we are to move forward, leveling up, gaining points, and just kind of achieving next, and set goals, but also set their rewards to something that they would enjoy. Find out what your community really wants as good rewards, and set it in an achievable manner, so that will really entice them and really kind of get them motivated in something tangible. It does not cost leadership anything to have coffee time with the winners, like, or to even get like performance evaluation increase. It doesn't cost anything to do that. So why not? But there's a lot of people where there've been so many communities, I'm not sure you've seen so well, where a lot of employees say, I don't feel appreciated, or I don't feel like my leadership knows what I'm seeing. And that's where gamification can really, as I say, shine the spotlight on that and make them feel appreciated.
So that's raising a question that I wanted to bring up to you. The question of intrinsic versus extrinsic rewards in communities. So I think about like some community platforms, even though they've been bought and I feel like they're being deprecated. The Influitive platform, which is a really kind of a gamified community, setup where you log in, you participate by answering questions, and you gain points, from doing that. And you can cash in those points for a Visa card, or to get a tree planted somewhere, or to get coffee with the CEO, or something like that. And some of those things are very extrinsic rewards, like money in my pocket, or I get a T-shirt, from doing that. And I know we talked a little bit about this before you joined the stream. One of my people that I've followed or read, previously is Yukai Chow, who talks about sort of extrinsic versus intrinsic rewards a little bit. How do you balance that in a gamification program?
I find it's always, as you said, it's a balancing act. You got to find, you don't want to make it too much, but you want to make it that those rewards are increasing as you gain up in levels. Like, you want to make sure and you got to make sure it's not too much, almost, because, or you break the budget. You get
Right.
the issue of people are like, oh, I really love this reward. That was one issue I had in one community where we had a set number of we were hoping to achieve, and lo and behold, we didn't know it was going to be too successful, and we went crazy over that. I think I explained to you one time, Todd. It just went crazy. So it's like you got to have a backup plan for that as well, and you got to make sure, like, it's a good problem to have, but you can also make sure that the rewards are not too crazy, so that it may blow your budget, or it may blow whatever you have planned out of the water.
It could be as simple as sending them a tchotchke, or like a branded piece of merchandise with a handwritten thank you note.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Having the CEO do a thank you note is super easy, and he can just literally sign it, go, and that is something that people will post on LinkedIn, I'm sure. If you are working for a company and you get a CEO thanks, that's going to go on LinkedIn, and that will help your community growth and branding, because you always want to take something that you can take away that can help build up their image, brand, or just achieve it. And that if their boss sees a thank you letter from another company, like thanking them for their community and everything, that's going to be positive on their promotion.
I love that. I love that a lot, man. I will say one more thing about Catherine's question. One of the communities that I'm working in, this was a big issue, like how you introduce gamification to members of the community. There's a community I was working with, still work with, that they had gamification in place, and I came in and did interviews with the community members as part of my audit process to sort of understand where the community was. And their reaction was like, man, I really hate these badges. This thing is, I don't even pay any attention to it. They were, and it was a health oriented, community. And so, like, they didn't want the gamification to cheapen the achievements of people in this community that was related to addiction and quitting. And so they very consciously, like, skewed the gamification towards how many posts you've created in the community, or, like, and it's still kind of sitting there at the moment. It's in need of a revamp, for what they're doing. But I think, like, one of the things that I've always avoided like the plague when explaining gamification to members of the community, or introducing it to members of the community, and tell me if this resonates with you, is to say, not ever use the word gamification. I don't use the G word when I'm introducing it to the community itself, because some people seem to have an allergic reaction to it, especially in communities that are a little bit more serious.
Exactly, and that's why you can always use, like, this is a new program that we are implementing. I always call it programs whenever I'm introducing a new gamification program. We're introducing a new program for engagement and to help with engagement, because everyone wants to be engaged, everyone wants to be excited. So I always like to use engagement
And that's
when
exactly what
describing it.
it is, right? It's not, you're not really dodging, you're framing, what it is that you're trying to create, for the community. That's really wonderful. Man, I feel like we could talk about this for hours, but I know we're getting a little bit low on time here. I wanted to ask you before we moved on, like, do you have some top voices in gamification right now that you like or that you look to for inspiration or ideas?
Yes, of course, I do. One is, I'm glad you mentioned him, is that on one of my favorite books to read and was Yukai Cho. You mentioned him before with actionable gamification beyond points, badges, and leaderboards. It was a very interesting book that I was super insightful, and I kind of feel like resonated with a lot of his talking points on how like gamification is like just not something that you want to use or abuse with your community members, and like there are so many ways to do it past just the normal true and tried options.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And also I enjoyed reading Brian Burke's Gamify because that was kind of provided some insight and like outlines for like how communities can be used. And Jono Bacon, who I love attending his All Things Open to this day. He's an
Yeah,
amazing voice in the industry. He always does so informative, so knowledgeable. It was incredible to hear his like words about gamification and like what he thought about it, because he kind of had like five pillars of gamification that he talked about, and they was just it provides some major insight.
yeah, yeah. Props to Jono. He is a stalwart of the community professional world, and I love reading and watching his stuff. He always produces great material. That's terrific. So I know we've been kind of talking about some wish list items for technology or innovation, coming along. As you sort of think about some of the new technologies which have been impacting us lately, the blockchain, AI, AR, VR. How do you think those things are going to have an impact on gamification, or will they? Because like so many of those elements are coming out of gaming environments already, where many of those things already exist. I just wonder what your thinking is about sort of like what the future of gamification might look like.
So one thing I would say about that is I actually attended a talk recently about from one of Microsoft's VPs on gamification, or not gamification, but on AI and like lessons learned about Visual Basic Studio. And it was quite interesting just having a chat with them about how AI is advancing and how there are different machine learning language models. And I chatted with them about what they think about gamification. And a lot of the responses I got was I don't see really much AI gamification. There are not many AI gamification products out there right now. And that is something that is kind of like lacking in
Mhm.
this world. And it's like, that is I feel like it can have huge potential to kind of like grow gamification in many regards, but it's just kind of feels like that there isn't the step hasn't been taken yet. It could be that AI is learning, it could be that AI is moving. I mean, Chat GPT could be used to help gamify stuff and ask about can make sure to like do like challenges, quests using Chat GPT to kind of get the brain juices flowing, but it's like there
Yeah.
is not really any major platform where it's devoted fully from AI to like gamification that I can tell yet. I could be wrong, but it's like
Yeah.
I've did some pretty intense searching about it.
Well, because like I can imagine some ways that a generative AI, kind of chatbot or something within a community platform could immediately acknowledge and call out an achievement that's happened
Exactly.
in the community, and make it personalized by mentioning that person and some of their interests, or hey, these were their top posts. They were really terrific. I'm reminded that one of the platforms that I work with, that we actually is the host for the Community Consultants Collective, is Disco, and it has an AI integration that's pretty cool that will let you generate community posts and
Oh,
responses
nice.
based on the current set of conversations. I could see that also being triggered potentially, or given the option to the community manager to trigger it, edit it, and trigger it as a way of acknowledging accomplishments within the community.
Well, I agree, and I'm a big supporter of AI. I have fun with it on the side. Like I've made AI generated songs. I think I told you about this, Todd, before,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like, yeah, and I love using ChatGPT for one of the games I'm in to make Taco Bell profile pictures about because the entire alliance I'm in is all about spreading the glory of Taco Bell through the entire game. It's hilarious.
That's hilarious. I love it, man. Or even like I can also imagine like the AI could when you achieve something that it could uh, generate a badge image
Hmm.
specific to your profile and your interests and things that you've done. Like it might take some elements of your interest or something that you posted and incorporate that into the image that goes into your badge so that it's truly a reflection of your personality and is something unique to your profile within the community as well.
I agree. That can definitely be done. Like there is ways to easily make it so that you can have AI create like badges or create it and kind of like, as you say, like personalize it.
Yeah.
Even if it would be great to have it so it's like if you achieved a certain like achievement, you can have a badge AI generated to that achievement that would fit to them based off what they want. So it doesn't feel generic. So it doesn't feel like everyone gets the same badge and someone can show it and it can have it in a special manner or have it in a special way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, David, this has been incredibly fun. I've gotten inspired to look at the communities that I'm consulting for right now again, and do some revamping and revising of the work. I would be remiss if I didn't say that David, you are available for hire and
Mhm.
consultation around gamification strategies or community management right now. So if you're listening and you've got a community that needs help, I can't think of anybody better to recommend to help, especially if it's in the gaming realm, but also in the business context and other places. We're putting your LinkedIn profile link up in the doobly doo there for anybody to take a look at. But uh, David, if anybody wants to reach out and chat with you, I assume that's probably the best way to connect.
Yep, that is good. I'm always available. I also have I'll be happy to chat with anyone. I love doing deep dives into gamification, like growing communities. It's kind of my passion.
I, and I appreciate the heck out of you for that, man. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. This has been a real joy. It's a topic dear to my heart, and I love your energy and inspiration around all this. And congratulations on all that you've achieved in the space. And thank you for all of you out there who have just joined us today. We're really super glad that you were able to be with us. And as we go into the weekend, please take time for yourself, take some time away, relax. If you're not good to yourself, you're no good to anybody else. And we will be back here in 2 weeks on November the 1st with Brad Rook. Please look for that event up in the Clocktower YouTube channel, as well as here on LinkedIn, where we do the lives. And we will see you then. Kalisa, let's roll the credits. See you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.